request Senior Vice President Mr. Arif come on to the dais, and other office bearers, Joint Secretary Sri R. Kumar, Treasurer Sri D.H. Patil, Joint Treasurer Basura. And I request Chairman, the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India, Mr. Srinivas sir, please come on to the dais. And Sri Pramod R. Redde, Secretary, the Institute of Chartered Accounts of India. And we welcome all the Council of Management of PAA and the participants for today's program, and respected members of Pina Industry Association. Request council members to join here. Please come on to the dais. Veerapura, Nayak, Ashok, Bani, Nagaraj sir, Bani, Nagaraj sir, Chanapur, Begum. Sir, Bani.
जहाँ पे कंप्लीट आएगा अरे नहीं लागेगा
Thank you, Ananda. I request Naveen, please distribute the sweets. Okay. Now I request the Institute of Chartered Accounts of India to take forward for today's event, the celebration of MSME Day, which is jointly organized by Pina Industry Association.
Catering gate.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and my professional colleagues. First of all, today is an International MSME Day, and we being part of it, I think we should give a good round of applause for this celebration, firstly, to ourselves. I also thank Committee of MSME and Startup of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Delhi, for giving us this opportunity to host this program. I request our dignitaries of the dais to take their positions. Request Chairman of Bangalore branch of ICAI, SRC, and request Sri HM RF, Senior Vice President, Sri Shivkumar R, Honorary Secretary. Sri Mr. Manjunath M. Hallu. Now I request our Chairman of Bangalore branch of SIRC to welcome the gathering.
HM Arif, Senior Vice President, Shivkumar, Honorable Secretary, Honorable Secretary, R. Kumar, Joint Secretary, D.H. Patil, Treasurer, Basraj, Joint Treasurer, and all the council members and members of Pune Industrial Association, Managing Committee members of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, speakers of the day Sanjay M. Dhariwal and Ramalinga Roda, and all my professional colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all for the today's celebration of International MSME Day, jointly with Pune Industrial Association. It's our pleasure and honor to be jointly having a session with the Pune Industrial Association, hosted by ICA at Delhi and organized by the Bangalore branch of ICA. As you all know, from 2017 onwards, we are conducting this MSME Day to mark this medium and small MSME Day. The theme of this year is Resilience and Rebuilding MSMEs for Sustainable Development. Small enterprises, strong pillars for India's economy and sustainable growth. The World MSME Day is observed every 27th of every year, June. The word MSME is a micro, small and medium enterprises are considered to be the backbone of India's socio-economic development. MSMEs have emerged as the second largest employment generating sector after agriculture. That sector is key driver of employment growth and considerably contribute to the country's GDP by manufacturing a wide range of products and services. According to the definition by the International Council for Small Business, MSMEs typically employ less than 250 people and account for 70% of total employment and 50% of GDP in most middle income countries. With 29% contribution to GDP and 50% to the country's exports, the sector is growing at a faster pace. The sector has provided employment to around 1.2 crore people and has constantly maintained a growth rate of over 10%, which is why it is crucial to promote entrepreneurship and innovation in this segment. MSME can address unemployment. The sector which boosts exports and GDP can serve the needs of India's youth very well to help the population of 2 crores fresh job seekers entering the workforce every year become Atmanirbhar job creators. Considering all this, we celebrate MSME Day. Last year also we conducted a program jointly with the Pune Industrial Association, but we conducted virtually. This is the first time I think we are having a physical program with Pune Industrial Association. When initially I contacted Arif sir, he gave me a President Murali Krishna sir, and I was continuously in touch with him. And we expected minister to come. In the last moment, yes, some other busy schedule, he has not come. Anyway, it's happy to jointly work with bigger association like you. We continue to seek the support, and we can have not only an MSME Day, we can have programs on other days also. If you ask any programs to conduct, we will be having a eminent speakers. We can have a program. Sector wise also we can have a programs generally with your association. With this, I once again welcome you all for this interesting program. Once again, welcome you all for this MSME celebration. Thank you all. Over to Raman.
Thank you, Chairman, for your welcome address. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of CA and CMA Satish R, Chairman of CMA Institute of Bangalore branch, also past Chairman of Bangalore branch, CA Shriram Bhatt. Now, we shall inaugurate this session by lighting of the lamp as a symbol of knowledge. So I request dignitaries on the dais and MC members of the dais to join us for this event. I request our members to rise for the motto song, please. Thank you, members. Now I request Sri H.M. RF, Senior Vice President of Pina Industries Association, to address.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಬಹು ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ನಾಡನ್ನು ಕಟ್ಟಿದಂತಹ ನಾಡಪ್ರಭು ಶ್ರೀ ಕೆಂಪೇಗೌಡರ ಜಯಂತಿಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯವನ್ನು ನಾನು ಕೋರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಇವತ್ತು ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ MSME ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಅವರ ಜೊತೆಗೂಡಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಪೀಣ್ಯ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕಾ ಸಂಘದ ಸಭಾಂಗಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಭೆಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಆಯೋಜಿಸಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿರುವಂತಹ ನಮ್ಮ ICCA ಶ್ರೀನಿವಾಸ್ ಟಿ ಚೇರ್ಮನ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಪ್ರಮೋದ್ ಆರ್ ಹೆಗ್ಡೆ ಸೆಕ್ರೆಟರಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಮಂಜುನಾಥ್ ಕಲ್ಲೂರ್ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಪೀಣ್ಯ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕಾ ಸಂಘದ ಗೌರವ ಕಾರ್ಯದರ್ಶಿ ಅವರಾದಂತಹ ಶಿವಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಹಾಗೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿರುವ ನಮ್ಮ ಪದಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಾದಂತಹ ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ಸಾಹೇಬರು, ಕುಮಾರ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಬಸವರಾಜ್, ಹಾಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿರುವಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜಿಂಗ್ ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲ್ ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ICIನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸದಸ್ಯರಿಗೂ ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತಾ, ಪ್ರಪ್ರಥಮವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಘದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕಾ ಉದ್ಯಮಿಗಳಿಂದ ಹಾಗೂ ಪೀಣ್ಯ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕಾ ಸಂಘದ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತೇನೆ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ 1978ರಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಥಾಪಿತ ಆದಂಥ ನಮ್ಮ ಪೀಣ್ಯ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕಾ ಸಂಘ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಪೀಣ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕಾ ಘಟಕಗಳ ಆಸಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಕಾಪಾಡುವ ಒಂದು ಉದ್ದೇಶದಿಂದ ಸುಮಾರು 6500 ಸದಸ್ಯರ ಸದಸ್ಯತ್ವವನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿದ್ದು, ಆಗ್ನೇಯ ಏಷ್ಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ 100ಕ್ಕೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕೆಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ ಸುಮಾರು 10,000ಕ್ಕೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಹಾಗೂ ಸಣ್ಣ ಮತ್ತು ಮಧ್ಯಮ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕೆಗಳು ನುರಿತ ಮತ್ತು ಕೌಶಲ್ಯ ಸಹಿತ ಸುಮಾರು 10 ಲಕ್ಷ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರನ್ನು ಒಳಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದು, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಮಾರು 5 ಲಕ್ಷಕ್ಕೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಹಿಳಾ ಕಾರ್ಮಿಕರಿಗೆ ಉದ್ಯೋಗ ನೀಡಿದೆ ಎಂದು ಹೇಳೋದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಸಂತೋಷ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಇಲ್ಲಿಯ ವಾರ್ಷಿಕ ವಹಿವಾಟು ಸುಮಾರು 20,000 ಕೋಟಿಗಳಿಗಿಂತಲೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಇದ್ದು, ಸುಮಾರು 2,000 ಕೋಟಿ ಆದಾಯವನ್ನು ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಹಾಗೂ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಬೊಕ್ಕಸಕ್ಕೆ ನೀಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ತಾಂತ್ರಿಕ ನೈತಿಕ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅತ್ಯುನ್ನತ ಗುಣಮಟ್ಟವನ್ನು ಕಾಯ್ದುಕೊಳ್ಳುವಲ್ಲಿ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತ್ರವಲ್ಲದೆ ಜಾಗತಿಕವಾಗಿಯೂ ಸಹ ಪ್ರಧಾನ ಲೆಕ್ಕಪತ್ರ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯಾಗಿ ಮಾನ್ಯತೆ ಪಡೆದಿದ್ದು, ತೆರಿಗೆ ಯೋಜನೆ, ಬಂಡವಾಳ ಯೋಜನೆ, ಬಜೆಟ್ ಯೋಜನೆ, ಹಣಕಾಸು ಮತ್ತು ಇತರ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಗಳು, ಲೆಕ್ಕಪತ್ರ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳ ತಯಾರಿಕೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಯಾವುದೇ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರ ತನ್ನದೇ ಆದ ಕೊಡುಗೆಯನ್ನು ನೀಡಿರುತ್ತದೆ. ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತ ಸನ್ನಿವೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ GST ಜಾರಿ ಆದ ನಂತರ CA ಪಾತ್ರ, ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅವರ ಪಾತ್ರ ನಮ್ಮಂತಹ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕೋದ್ಯಮಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮ ಮತ್ತು ಸಣ್ಣ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕೋದ್ಯಮಿಗಳು. ನಮ್ಮ ತುಂಬ ಸಮಯ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ನಡೆಸೋದ್ರಲ್ಲೇ ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ ವಿನಃ ಈ ಒಂದು ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್, ಹಣಕಾಸಿನ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅಷ್ಟು ಸುಸಜ್ಜಿತರಾಗಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ನಾವೇನಾದರೂ ಎಡವಿದ್ರೆ, ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ತೀಡಿ ಸರಿ ಮಾಡುವಂಥದ್ದು ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಆದ ಅವರ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ ಆಗೋದನ್ನು ಅವರು ಸಹ ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ನಾವು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಧಾರಣವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಪಾಲ್ದಾರರು ಅಥವಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಹಭಾಗಿಗಳು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಅವರನ್ನು ಗಣನೆಗೆ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಇವತ್ತು ಈ ಒಂದು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಹಾಗೂ ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿ ವರ್ಗದವರಿಗೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ಪೀಣ್ಯ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕಾ ಸಂಘದ ಸಭಾಂಗಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಯೋಜಿಸಿದ್ದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ನಾನು ನಮ್ಮ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು ಅವರ ಅನುಪಸ್ಥಿತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಇವತ್ತು ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ, ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕವಾಗಿ, ಪದಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿಯ ಸದಸ್ಯರು ಹಾಗೂ ಪೀಣ್ಯ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕಾ ಸಂಘದ ಸದಸ್ಯರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ತಮಗೆ ತುಂಬು ಹೃದಯದ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಯನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಾ, ಇಂದು ಮುಂದಿನ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ಸಹ ಯಾವುದೇ ಥರದ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಇದ್ದರೆ ತಾವು ಮುಂದೆ ಬಂದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಆಯೋಜನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಆಶ್ವಾಸನೆಯನ್ನು, ಆಶಾಭಾವನೆಯನ್ನು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ವಂದಿಸ್ತಾ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಜೈ ಹಿಂದ್, ಜೈ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ.
I request Mr. Shivkumar, Honorary Secretary, to address the members.
Respected dignitaries on the dais and the off the dais, today is the day where all our MSMEs feel proud, because we are also having a day to celebrate this. And first of all, I wish each one of you happy International MSME Day. See, this is observed annually on June 27th since 2017. Serves as a reminder to the governments to create a business climate in which small companies also have an opportunity to thrive. The United Nations in its 74th plenary on April 6th, 2017 recognized the significance of MSMEs in attaining sustainable development goals, encouraging the innovation and providing livelihood to local communities. As on March 31st, 2021, we had our statistics 77.25 lakhs of MSMEs and providing a 12 crores of employment opportunity. Not only GDP contribution which we make, even this sector boost export and also self needs of India's youth very well. The challenges for successive governments has been to grow the economy while at the same time generates the quality jobs in large numbers every year by supporting the development of grassroots entrepreneurs to set up their own MSMEs. We can suitably address the problems of youth unemployment. The local unemployment can be reduced through micro, small and medium sized firm, which in turn can help to correct the regional economy imbalances. The rise of the sustainable MSME sectors has resulted in the creation of local job possibilities, which has helped to mitigate the population urge in mega cities. As our senior vice president has told that the accounting or the CA related, as personally I believe that any organization without finance is the heart of the organization. I believe that if art is functioning properly, our organization can easily function. Without the help of CA, we couldn't able to grow up ourselves. And CA part we consider as they are partner for our organization and the growth ourselves. Thank you all the CAs who are presented here, and I thank the Institute of Chartered Accounts of India for giving me this opportunity to present my views and organizing this event. It's a second event in collaboration with the Pina Industry Association. The first year they have done with the online, and this is the first program of the offline. Thank you for the entire team of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. Thank you.
Thank you for the encouraging words. Also, I would like to thank Pina Industrial Association to come up jointly with us and organize this event. I request our chairman of Bangalore branch of SIRC to present a floral bouquet to the dignitaries on the dais. I would like to propose a vote of thanks for this inaugural session, firstly, and I would also like to thank Pune Industries Association for giving us this opportunity and jointly organizing this event. Now moving towards technical sessions. I request Manjunath M. Hallur, Treasurer of the Bangalore branch of SRC, to take over the dais and give an introduction of the speakers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have two technical sessions. First one is on MSME policy, regulatory and legal framework done by none other than CA Sanjay Dhariwal sir. It's my proud privilege to introduce CA Sanjay Dhariwal sir. Sanjay Dhariwal is a practicing chartered accountant since 1993 and a fellow member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is the founder partner of firm Dhariwal and Srinivas and heads business consultancy division. Sanjay is also graduate of law from Bangalore University. Sanjay had been active in the field of spreading awareness on indirect tax by conducting seminars, presenting papers, and is a contributor to leading indirect tax journals and newspapers. He is a visiting faculty at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He has membership of professional bodies like he is a co-opted member of Indirect Tax Committee of ICI Delhi for 4 years. He was member in Commercial Taxes Consultative Committee of the Commercial Taxes Department, Karnataka. He was a member of Indirect Tax Law and Representation Committee of All India Federation of Tax Practitioners. Was a senior Senate member of Jain Vishwa Bharati Institute. Authored more than 28 books on indirect taxes. Addressed more than 1,200 seminars on indirect tax and more than 300 seminars in other areas. He has also addressed in CNBC, News 9, FICCI, ASSOCHAM, AIFTB, CII, ICI, KCA, etc. He is past National President and Chief Trustee of Therapan Professional Forum. He is also past Secretary of Jito Apex, past Vice Chairman of AIFTB, former Chairman of Young Youth Wing, Jito Apex. And he has directorship in DNS Consulting Private Limited, DNS Realtors Private Limited, Salt and Pepper Entertainment Private Limited, Chetty's Corner Foods Private Limited. With this brief introduction, I present before you Sanjay Dhariwal sir. I request CA Srinivas sir to escort sir on dais. And welcome in floor bouquet. The second second technical session would be on MSME taxation and financing. It is done by CA Ramalinga HB. I would like to request Sri Srinivas sir to escort speaker on the dais and welcome with the floor bouquet. CA Ramalinga HB is a fellow member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and qualified in the year 2010. He hails from Mandya district of Karnataka and in charge of Mysore branch. His professional expertise includes corporate and other tax compliances, business registrations, tax assessments, GST planning and advisory, stock audit, transaction tax advisory, accounts outsourcing, management consultancy, internal audit, labor law compliance, budget and analysis, payroll management. With this brief introduction, I present before you CM Ramalinga HB also. Thank you. Over to you.
Very good evening, and I thank the Pedia Industrialist Association as well as the ICI for giving me an opportunity to speak before you. Wishing you all a very happy International MSME Day. I also belong to an MSME organization, so it is also my day. The most important and beautiful thing is the theme of the program today. Being a chartered accountant, I feel happy that we have selected such a beautiful theme called as CAs as Business Solution Providers for MSME. How many of you belong purely to the industry? Can we just lift up our hands? Okay, so we have got a few from the industry and majority are from the professional field. So I think many of your members who have come today would not be getting the benefit of understanding that if you do business, what is the role of a chartered accountant or what is the role of your consultant? I would not say chartered accountants only, but as consultants today. I think when you are talking about MSMEs, etc., today they have given me the legal framework and what are the incentives available to a MSME. I think most of you into this practice, into the industry for more than a few years, are much more well versed than what I am. Let me be very honest. I have never spoken on a topic for MSMEs. I have never gone through the scheme. I have never set up any MSMEs for my office. There are different partners in our office who do that. I have been, as in the introduction it was told, that I am a person who speaks on indirect taxes. Around 1,200 seminars on indirect. So this has not been my core area. But the reason why I had to accept this was because my chairman, Mr. Srinivas, said that you have to speak. And for me, it was more a learning experience to understand that what is an MSME, why should we do it, what are the advantages, disadvantages, so that probably when we come across, when we meet our friends who are industrialists, we could also add a few little values to them, and that basically helps across. So do you want me to speak on the benefits of MSME only, or do you want me to speak as an overall outlook as to what benefits an MSME? What would you prefer? From members from the industry, what would you prefer? Do you want me to speak on a topic that what can be the way a MSME has to function, taking the advantages of the schemes also, or do you want me to just go into the scheme and tell you what is that available? Advantages, and how do you run the basic thing? Okay, I will just change that because the topic given, and those who came here for the schemes, etc., I would just tell you that these are these 3 books available. It will be available with your bookstores, guys who have come here, he'll get it across. You can just take these pages or the papers which I have marked across. The book is there. go through it for one day or half a day or an hour or so, you'll get a fairly good idea of to which scheme is applicable to all, or which scheme is applicable only to you. And this would be a better way than talking about the schemes which are different segments, different sectors, there are different schemes available. So I would not justify that out of the 10 people I give 10 schemes separately or give just one scheme and that doesn't benefit. I thought what is the value addition I can do is that I can try to change your mindset on how you do your business, what is an MSME, what are the problems MSMEs have faced, especially after the COVID times. I'm sure most of you have seen a sea change in the way you were doing business and the way you are supposed to do business. Right or wrong? So that is the area I take it across with the permission of my chairman as well as the co-speaker here, because the co-speaker would definitely be giving a lot of input to you on the tax benefits, etc., which are very important. So this is the way I think I will proceed further with your permission. So what is it that we are talking about? What is an MSME? I think we all know what is an MSME. We are talking about micro units, you are talking about small units, you are talking about medium enterprises. And basically we have these three words used separately because the subsidy schemes are different, the tax schemes are different, and therefore we thought that okay fine, they categorize it into three. But what was the objective of having an MSME? Most of us know that the whole reason that we celebrate the International MSME Day today, or the reasons that MSMEs are promoted across, is the statistics were already given by your team members here, who said that how many industry enterprises are there in the world today, in India today, and he's also given us that how many people we employ. In his statement, he said that around 12 crore people are employed by the MSME sector. How many of you agree with it or don't agree with it? You agree with it? Is it just 12 crores or much more? See here, what you are talking is about a direct employment. What about the indirect employment which is happening across? It is huge. And in this COVID times, when the industries were closed for a few months, with every wave coming in and across, we had challenges of retaining our people. We had challenges of what we should do, what we should not do. And we were also tested because if you do not pay the wages to them, if you do not pay the salaries to them, they were not able to sustain. Some of them went back to the natives and we struggled further much across. And these were the major challenges which the MSME sectors faced. Were these pains or were these problems faced by the large enterprises or super large enterprises? Not much. So, if you try to understand that what is the difference between an MSME sector and the large players. Today, when we are talking about businesses, that what is it that it has impacted us? Whether it has impacted us substantially in the last 2.5 years or it has not impacted us much. You have the government saying that don't worry about it. The businesses are back to action. The GST collections has gone up. We had 1,40,000 crores earlier, last month. Before that we had 1,70,000 crores. So therefore from a 1 lakh minus a GST collection monthly, we have gone to a very high collection annually, right? So we have seen that at the macro level, the businesses have improved because GST has not increased because the rate of taxes have increased. That is still under the process of increasing the rate of taxes. What is it that has changed? The change is that even if the volumes have gone up, how many MSME sectors here feel that your businesses have also have increased much beyond the pre-pandemic dates? Can you lift up your hands? It has increased more than the pre-pandemic times? By 60%, 70%? 30%? Now, if you see that if it is increased by 20 to 30% time, what is that that has increased the volumes? Is it the value or is it the quantity?
Value.
If you take the quantity per se, have you increased?
No.
Not much. A few have. A few industries have definitely grown because of the fact that they were able to generate the production. There were quite a few MSME sectors which are basically closed down. The MSME sectors, quite a few have also closed down because they were not able to sustain the pace, they were not able to sustain the salaries, they were not able to sustain the rentals, they were not able to sustain the infrastructure, and they were not able to sustain the EMIs to the banks. So if you see that, yes sir.
Collection of GST is increased only because of the escalation in 60 to 70% of raw material cost has gone up.
I agree, sir. That is the whole point I wanted to make today.
That is the main.
अरे भाई इसीलिए मैंने ये बताया है कि what we are patting our backs is also creating a serious issue. But please understand one thing. There is a bigger serious issue which many of the organizations like you have not taken up with the government. And that is that the business is moving from the MSME sectors to the large players. And if that is going to happen, what will happen of the 12 crore families who are dependent on you, that is as employees? What would happen to the millions of entrepreneurs like you, which is how are you going to survive? Now, if you see the major difference between the two, why large companies were able to survive, grow and super grow, whereas the MSME sectors are still struggling to come out of it. There are basically three reasons that I say that is a difference which we as MSME sectors have not been able to achieve it, but the large companies have been able to achieve it because one, they had infrastructure, they had capital, number two, they developed technology, and number three, the most important thing is that they had logistics with them, which unfortunately most of the MSME sectors lack in infrastructure and capital. We also lack in the fact that we do not adopt to technology the way the technology is changing today. And the third most important thing is that we are not having the logistics support to basically help us. If the transportation prices have gone up and if you have taken it that it's going to be free on board, you have your challenges of convincing your customers to pay you extra. If you have already entered into a contract with your customers and then if you are not into the monopoly business of those particular activities, you are not able to increase the prices of those products because of the fact that you are not able to do it across. So this is one of the major challenges which is being done, and unfortunately I would say that we have not addressed this. I remember I was talking to two of the central ministers who were part of the 5-member group of ministers team which was discussing on the pandemic relief to be given across. I had asked them just one thing, that if you want to improve the MSME sectors, who are the backbone of this country today, if just imagine if 12 crore people lose their jobs, what would be the labor unrest in the country? What would be the fear which we are going to happen? What is going to be the problems which we are going to face? And that we do not have an answer. I said the MSME sectors has contributed in the form of direct taxes, it has contributed in the form of stamp duties, it has contributed in the form of employment to people, it has also contributed in the form of income tax. I told them, don't give us any subsidies. Please try to see that the MSME sector is given something called as a loan linked to the taxes what we have paid. Ignore the input tax credit, the net output tax what we have paid under the GST law, the net income taxes which we have paid to the government, the 5 years average you take it across, and into 2 you give it to them as a loan at a subsidized rate. This is what I had asked them, and both the ministers, when I was talking to them, they said, Sanjay ji, this is a brilliant idea, we will look into it, but nothing else happened. So, what happens? But the larger players, either some of them were written off as NPS, they went into the NCALTs and basically got themselves sold to some bigger fishes in the market. But the MSME sector per se had huge challenges when it came to arranging the funds, liquidities, collections, etc. Though we have laws today to say that if you do not get your monies within a certain date, then it will be treated as a disallowable expenses under the Income Tax Act, etc., which my learned friend is going to speak about. We have got about interest to be paid across. We have got all these challenges which are there. But is it really being implemented? Today, if I am your customer and you supply me goods and I don't pay you, can you take me to the court for it? Would you not lose your businesses of the future? These are the challenges which the MSME sectors are facing today, which unfortunately has not been done. We are talking about a huge revolution or a growth in the economy, which unfortunately we have not reached that level. That level has happened more because of the value increase in the raw materials, the value increase in the thing, but that is not actually shown in the inflation rates what we have got in our country today. But people who are at the grassroots level, people who are at the manufacturer level, you know exactly what is it, and that is the challenges that you are going to face across. So what we have got, this is the basic sectors that you come under. I will not waste time on this because we all know whether we belong to the micro, you belong to the small, you belong to the medium, or you belong to the super large outlets. Now, The first question which also comes very important for the MSME sector is that, are we people looking at the global economy? Are we people looking at the global scenarios when we do our business? Unfortunately, no. How many of you started preparing for the lockdowns in the month of Feb 2020? None of us. Why? Because we thought in December or November it had started in China, it had gone down to France, it had gone down to Italy, it had gone down to European countries, it also went to US. India is going to be immune because we believe in we are a very philosophical country. Right? We saw that there were countries and the states and the cities which were locked down, but we did not get into this. The larger companies started preparing for it. They developed their infrastructure more stronger. They created the thing that, okay, fine. I'll just give you a simple example, as many of them are professionals here. How many chartered accountants were working in those 2 months of lockdown from your houses? And how many chartered accountants, with your employees, not only you, were your employees also working on it? Were they linked to the server? Were you working on a cloud? Servers. Yeah. But how many chartered accountants were just closed down, they were not available because they said that there is a lockdown, my office is closed, my systems are not operating, etc. And this was a challenge. Whereas you take the big four, they were working, each and every employee of theirs was working from home. Take the large companies which are outsourced in Bangalore, you take the case of HSBCs, you take the JP Morgans, you take the Standard Chartered banks, you take any of these guys, they were all working and getting a better productivity because they had their infrastructure, they had their logistics, and they had technology with them. We as MSME sectors failed to upgrade our technology, though we had a clear 3-month start. So it is very essential for us to see that as MSME sectors, what is happening in the global economy is also going to impact us. Earlier we used to say, what happens in the world doesn't impact India. What happens in the metros does not impact the smaller state. I remember I had gone to a small place called Ratlam in Madhya Pradesh. And there I was talking about online sales and how it is going to impact the MSME sectors and the small retailers. People told, Sanjay ji, आप Bangalore से आए हो, वहाँ पे आपका सब online बिकता है. All our customers come to our shop and take. Within 6 months to 1 year, their turnovers went down by more than 60% because online sales started coming there, delivery started coming there, and there were huge businesses. And the best issue was that the products could be compared online, offline, the rates can be seen today, and today you cannot basically make your margins. The same thing is going to happen with the MSME sector when you are into manufacture of products, etc. That your bigger challenges is not going to be how you produce. Your bigger challenge is going to be what cost you produce, and that is going to be your biggest challenge. And this is what the global economy. If you are going to talk about what is the replacement cost of this product, if I have to import it from outside India, this is going to be your challenge. It's not just going to be your neighborhood to say, in Pinia industrial area, A is manufacturing this product, B is manufacturing, this cost price is so much, he's selling at this price, I can sell it. Today, no. It is going to be a global area, a global market, which we have to understand to say that what is the pricing that we are going to look into it. The second is that we are also have to see our Indian economy and the industrial market, how it is going across. I think there is a very big change which is happening today. The very big change is happening in terms of what we produce and what is required by the customer. The way the technology is changing. How many of you have spent money enough to upgrade yourself into technology to see that after 1 year or 2 years, what is the product your customer is going to demand? Whether it is a large industry or it is a final consumer, you have to basically see that are your products going to be surviving for the next 1 or 5 years. I think this is one place that we don't look into it, and that is the place where we have to look into it. The next is the sectorial economy. I think this is another area that we have not done much work to say that we all belong to different sectors of industries. Some can be into plant and machinery manufacture, some can be into steel, some can be into cement, some can be into plastic, some can be into any other industries. What is that is changing in that sector? I think this is another important area that we have to look into it to say that what is going to impact me, what is going to impact my sector, what is going to impact my economy, and what is going to impact the global economy. How many of us have actually put in that efforts or time We have been great business people. Today we have grown from zero to heroes, we can say, because we have grown from zero turnovers or a few lakhs of turnovers. We have gone to the 5 crores turnover, 10 crores, 100 crores, 200 crores, 500 crores turnovers. But what brought you here? Will it take you where you want to be in the future? Have we changed or have we re-looked into the way we are doing our businesses is something that we have to look across. I'll just give you my example. I am known as an indirect tax expert, as it was read out that I have authored 28 books on indirect taxes. Today if you ask me what is the area I practice, I say I don't deal with indirect taxes at all. For me, or for many of my friends who are from the CA profession, it would be startling for them to say that after putting 25 to 28 years of experience and research on that particular subject, what made you change and come out of that particular line? Because that was a cash cow for me. 4 years back, I had decided to come out of indirect tax practice, and the simple reason was that I saw that the future of indirect tax practice may be very, very difficult because it's going to be more of a clerical work. The litigation what we had under the sales tax regime, the litigation what we had under the VAT regime, and the litigation what we are having or we are seeing it in the GST regime, except for the procedural pains which we are going through, the litigation has definitely come down. Right or wrong? So if that is going to come down, then what is going to be the role of a chartered accountant when he is going to practice? The same way, I request you all to relook into your business to say that what is the sector you are in, what is the product you are manufacturing, whether that product is going to survive for the long term, what is the world concern on that particular product. Take this classic case of plastic bag manufacturers. People who are into the plastic bag manufacturers suddenly had to close down the stores, close down the factories because of the fact that certain quality of plastic was not permitted to be manufactured or it cannot be used in the country because of the ecological reasons. The same thing, what all products you are doing, what is the technology coming across? How many of us still use that Nokia small phone? We can't use it today. We need our GPS to reach this place also. I'm sure if all of us, when we go back home also, will put the GPS on to see that which is the fastest route to reach your house. And earlier when you used to put it across, people would say, you don't know the route of your house. But today we have all become addicted to the technological world. And when these things are changing, we have to learn to adopt things. Like for example, when I had to come here today, I had planned for a 40 minutes drive time to reach here from Kumara Park to here. And then my driver was telling, sir, you could have used the metro, you would have reached here in 15 minutes. Things have changed, and that 25 minutes of time which you save is a huge change which is happening. The same thing in your businesses. Are we looking at the sectorial changes? Are we looking at the global changes in the same products, etc.? And if you are not looking at it, please be aware that you are not going to survive for long. These are serious issues that we are looking across, and then is the technological upgradation. What we were doing business earlier, what we are doing today, how much money are we investing into technology? If you talk about the large players today, their businesses were not affected not for any other reason, but for the reason that they upgraded themselves to the technology. How many of us have upgraded to our technology? How many of us have upgraded our services? One of the biggest changes I'm seeing is that you see the GDP, what was there, the composition of GDP of India, which was 20 years back, and what is it today? What was the component of goods in the GDP earlier? What was the component of services in the GDP 25 years back, 50 years back? And what is the component of services today in the GDP? If Indian economy has grown from 6% to 10%, etc. in the last 20 years, you see that the composition in the GDP on goods has gone down and the component of the services in the GDP has gone up very high. Add the percentage of growth, you see where the service sectors have gone across. So the one thing that you have to see is that today if your client can manufacture or if your client can compare the price of what you are giving it to them and he can compare it with what is available by your competitors, by international market, on sites, on websites, etc., you are not going to survive the competition for long because you may have, I still remember the simple example I give people is about Ramesh Chauhan. How many of you have heard about Ramesh Chauhan here? No one? How many of you know his product? If I tell the product's name, all of you lift up your hand. What is this? Understood? The manufacturer of Thumbs Up, he was paid around 55 crores to be taken over by the large player called Coke. When he was taken over by them, he was asked one simple question, that why did you sell your company to Coke where your product was doing amazing? When Coke took over Thumbs Up, they wanted to destroy the product called Thumbs Up. They wanted to only sell the Coke. They wanted to destroy Limca and they wanted to sell Sprite. But they were not able to do that because in India the demand for Thumbs Up as well as for Sprite, Sprite was very high, and they had to recontinue with Limca, and Coke, Thumbs Up they continued across. He was asked a simple question, why did you sell at 55 crores to Coke? And his answer in those days was that I will not be able to withstand the competition. For two reasons. He said, one, the advertisement budget would be more than 100 crores which I cannot afford. Now it is in thousands. And the second reason he said is that they can burn cash and learn to do business for 5 years, 10 years, they can sell it at a loss because they are globally sustainable companies, but we cannot sustain ourselves. Are you not seeing that same impact on the MSME sector today? Though you have certain products which are reserved for the MSME sector, but are you not seeing that ultimately what is going to happen is that your products, the people are coming and selling it at a huge discount. Are you anywhere comparable to that? Has the government ever thought about the people who employ 12 crore people, if they become unemployed, what is it going to happen to the country? Unfortunately, we do not have governments which are thinking the way a businessman should think. We are not having governments which are looking out at the micro level issues, but at the macro level we pat our backs to say that we have a 70% increase in the GDP, in the GST collection. We have a 85% increase in the income tax collection. How many of your net profits have increased in the last 2 years compared to the pre-pandemic period, even if your turnovers have increased? How many of you are struggling with your cash flow systems? The large players have paid higher taxes today because the volumes have increased, the margins have increased because they have the logistics with them, they have the infrastructure with them, they have the capital with them, and they have the large scale purchasing and manufacturing capacities, which we unfortunately do not have. I still remember another example that we were doing a research for one of our clients who had come from Pune to manufacture breads in Bangalore. He was the largest supplier of bread in Pune. Even today they supply around 70,000 bread a day. They manufacture and supply it on a daily basis. When they came to Bangalore to set up the unit, I had gone along with them. And then they said, Sanjay, we will not survive in Bangalore. I asked him why. Quality wise, he said, no, we are far superior. Then I said, then what is it that will not make you survive? He said, I have one biggest advantage of having the cost price because I am a large manufacturer. Unfortunately, Bangalore's smallest Iyengar bakery also has the same advantage because all the Iyengar bakeries have consolidated themselves and said, this is the price we all are going to buy. They have negotiated with the suppliers. Today, in the Pinya Industrial Association, where we have common players in the same field, can you not take that advantage to say that let us negotiate the price what the supplier is doing, a large player is doing, and renegotiate and say, irrespective of whether Sanjay buys, Srinivas buys, or Arif Bhai buys, it is going to be the same price. If you want to survive, I think it is time that the MSME sectors also consolidate yourself together, join together and basically grow. Otherwise whatever is the industrial policy they are going to say, are you going to survive with the subsidies which you are getting? Are you going to subsidize? Because your investments itself are so small that the government is not keen. But you are not understanding is that you have got the biggest power. I say there are two people who have the biggest power to negotiate with the government. One is the MSME sector and second is the real estate sector. These are the two sectors which are suffering the most in the country because we deal with the maximum manpower in the people, and unfortunately we are hit by all the laws. But a large player can go to UK and still survive because law does not matter. The next is that how much of time are we spending in packaging our products, how much of time we are spending in marketing, how much of time we are spending in ideas, how much of time we are doing it in services. And my one advice to all the MSME sector is that if you can, please add services to your product. Just don't manufacture the products which is available in the market, because without services you will not survive. Today if I buy a television from Amazon or a Flipkart, I do not get the back-to-back services, but I can get it when I buy it from my known stores. This is something that you have to highlight, this is something that you have to publicize, which most of us don't do that. Introspection of your business, as I told, that what you hear will not take you tomorrow to where you want to be. You'll have to do a relook into the way you're doing your business, relook into the way you're basically looking at it, relook into the schemes which are coming out by the government to understand what is the benefits I get if I set up a unit here, what is the benefit I get if I set up a unit in the northeastern state, what is the benefit or what is the complications I'll have if I set up a unit here and somebody manufacturing it in Himachal Pradesh. There's going to be a huge difference because there are subsidies given. Luckily, after the sales tax and the VAT regime we came in, there was something called as the benefits which were given has been slowed down or it has been discontinued. This I thought would benefit Karnataka the most. Unfortunately, it did not. Why? Because there was still a segment of our country which was considered as undergrown, so they gave them huge incentives and subsidies which still continued over there but does not continue in states like ours, and there we have a problem. The next is, what are the schemes? What are the benefits we have got? I would only request you all, please purchase the book, understand what is the industry you're into, what are the benefits given, are we utilizing those benefits? One of the most important things that you have to understand is that every benefit underutilized increases our costing, every benefit which we utilize increases your bottom line, that is your net profit. So please meet your consultants, please meet the experts in this particular field to understand that for which industry, what all benefits I can get, what all tax benefits I can get, how can I basically use it across. My learned friend is going to give us a outlook on what is the impact of the taxes on this particular MSME sectors. If you add number of people, what is the tax benefits you get, what are the products you can do it across, and that is something that we all have to relook from an individual perspective to say that do I survive or I don't survive. I think this is one of the things that we have to look into it. And then these are the schemes which are very popular, but I'm sure most of us are not taking this other than credit guarantees for MSMEs or a discounted rate of interest for our loans. The balance we are not looking out at it. What are the other benefits that we have got? The next important area is the cluster development. I think Karnataka has also started with a very good concept of having different clusters in different areas. For example, you have the ready-made garments cluster in the place like Bellary. So every place you are coming across, and more clusters are coming. I think there is a jewelers cluster which is going to be announced very shortly in Tumkur also. So there are going to be different clusters which are going to be done across. So your first question again should be there is that if a cluster for a particular industry segment is going to be created, do you go into the cluster and manufacture, or do you be outside the cluster to manufacture? You have to see that what is the cost of moving your present industry to the new industry area. Along with that, you also have to see that when you have a cluster, you know that the clusters are made in a place where there is a supply of raw material or there is a requirement of the industries which are there. Luckily, you don't have the entry tax now. Others, we had to always look into that. I remember when we were talking about the ready-made garments, there was a thing that the CM was telling you should develop ready-made garments across Bangalore. I asked him, sir, if I manufacture the goods in Bellary, I come and sell it over here, you are charging me entry tax on the ready-made garments from Karnataka to Karnataka itself, because there was a concept of local area. Luckily, we don't have the entry tax today here. So what is going to be the impact on that particular impact? So immediately the CM at that time, Mr. Yediyurappa, announced that we will withdraw entry tax on ready-made garments. How powerful are our industrial bodies here today to say that we negotiate this with the government to say that if you are having the industrial cluster, what is it going to happen? Because the industrial cluster is also going to have a serious issue because you have the same people manufacturing in the same segment. So your employees can be moved across, and that is going to be your bigger challenges which is going to happen across, and this would be the change or the challenge which you are going to do across. I've got an indication from my team that the time is short. What are the benefits? Less capital incentives. These are the benefits which MSME has. You have got lots of schemes which are there. You have got lots of single window services and all coming across. But the red tapeism is still there. Agreed? And that is where something we have to do across. Cost cutting is another area that we have to relook into. expansion versus closure is a very important area. I'll just go to the headings here because we have a shortage of time. Today you have to do an introspection to say that, do I expand more or do I close down my business? Because you have to not look at today what are the margins you're making, you'll have to also look across that after 2 years, 5 years, what is the technology which is going to come, what is going to be the replacement for the products we are manufacturing, and then look into it. Let's read books, laws, procedures, let's attend seminars for knowledges, because this is something that we all are too involved or engrossed into our business that we don't look into these particular things. And the most is branding and packaging, network with industry leaders. I think this in India helps a lot. When you're talking about large manufacturers, if you're a supplier to them, have you spent enough of time in networking with your industries across? This is another area to look into. And the most important thing is the philosophy of let go. Don't have your egos, don't have your sentiments, don't have your emotions, don't have your attachments to the industry in which you're working in. Where you see that is going to, like, I had a lot of attachment to indirect taxes. I had to let it go. And this is something that you'll have to look out at new products, new industries, etc. to grow across. These are statistics which are very old. I don't want to get into this. Then these are the challenges faced by the MSME, which you are better people to tell me than what I can tell you across, so I will not go into this much. Atmanirbhar Bharat offers, these all are the collateral-free loans, credits. There was one good thing in the pandemic they did of giving an enhanced credit facilities to the MSME sectors at a low rate of interest. This slides, I have shared it, I'll share it with the association and those who have come. You can ask them to send it by email if it is possible and do it across. So this is the thing. These are the numbers which are old numbers, I believe so. I think it has crossed the 7 million people as MSME sectors. But if you see that, we have grown from MSME to the micro to the small segment. But how many of us have moved from the small segment to the medium segment? You see the difference over here. You see the difference over here. This is something that has to come over here. The reason is that we all have set up our businesses, we all have started our businesses. Unfortunately, we have not changed our way of doing business, which is also important. These are the clusters which are available to you, and I will be open for question answers subject to them permitting me after I think the speaker finishes it across, because I would not like to eat into his time. And any other things which I would also confess that for me this was a very lot of value additions, because I never deal with MSMEs, I don't deal with industrial policies. So it helped me go through it and read it and understand it. But I thought that my expertise of business consulting is the where I can add more value to you all. With this, I conclude my talk. Thank you very much.
Welcome to everyone present here. I am happy to be part of this program because I have started my professional journey from Pina industry during my study time itself. So I am also happy that a couple of my clients who have established in PIA have marked considerably good growth in their business. So as we know, Pina Industrial is a biggest industrial estate in Asia, which has more SMEs than big entities. Approximately around 20,000 entities are established here, and over 10 lakhs employees are working in this area. So I think we need to talk about Startup India, because Startup India is roaring. I don't know actually whether it is happening in a smaller segment, but definitely it is making a noise in India. The startup in India are really fast spreading comparing to earlier days. The startup ecosystem has created as many as 14 unicorns in Q1 of 22 itself. They have received over 10 billion across 334 funding deals in last 3 quarters. There are totally 84 unicorns as of now. According to agency, the quarter saw maximum fund flowing in software companies, grossing more than $3.5 billion. So therefore, it is important for government to support MSMEs and startup in larger scale in order to boost the economy rapidly. So is the MSME funding really happening in India as projected? The data shows the MSME loan have grew up by 21.5% to 4,95,000 crores on March 22 from 4,07,000 crores in March 2021. And medium enterprise loan have phenomenal growth by 71.4% of 1,41,000 crores to 2,42,000 crores. So with this brief introduction about MSME entities in India, I will take you through the tax benefits available and financing facilities available from the government and banks. So about definition of MSME, sir is already covered. Micro enterprises, investment in plant and machinery or equipments up to 1 crore, an annual turnover of 5 crores. The small segment will be investment up to 10 crores and turnover less than 50 crores. And the medium size will be 50 crores investment and 250 crores of turnover. So what are the benefits available to MSMEs? So there are income tax exemptions available and the protection for timely payment, concession on electricity charges, then reduced IPR filing fee, availability of loan, then reimbursement of ISO certification charges, and exclusive purchases from MSME market development assistance scheme. So let's go through one by one. The first one is for MSMEs can avail a tax benefit of presumptive taxation under section 44AD or 44ADA under Income Tax Act without maintaining complete books of accounts. Then the second one is the government has introduced a favorable tax regime for new manufacturing companies. It is not for other entities, only for companies it is available. The Taxation Laws Amendment Ordinance 2019 passed on 20th September 2019 has inserted section 115 BAB offering a lower tax rate of 15%. So the effective rate would be 17.1% including surcharge and cess. This is done to promote the new manufacturing startups. The company does not need to pay a MAT. So who are eligible? The companies should be a newly incorporated company between 1st October 2019 to 31st March 2024, and the investment in plant and machinery should be a new plant and machinery to the extent of 80%. Okay. There are certain conditions to avail this section 115 BAB. You will not get additional depreciation deduction which is allowed under section 32(1) AA. Then you won't get a deduction in respect of expenditure related to scientific research. Then deduction in respect of amount paid to a research association. Then expenditure on specified businesses, expenditure on skill development project, and under any provision of Chapter 6A deduction you will not get. Then company cannot set off any losses carried forward from any earlier assessment years. Then move on to the next provision. Section 80JJAA, deduction on additional employee cost. This is pay more to employees and get more deduction under income tax law. This is applicable for any assessee having income from business and liable for tax audit under section 44AB. The quantum would be 30% of the additional employee cost incurred during the previous year and deduction available for 3 assessment years. There shall be net increase in the employee cost at the end of the year. So here, to be brief on this section, there has to be a net increase in the employee numbers as of the closing of the financial year. Suppose in the beginning of the year, if you have 50 employees on roll, and company hires another 10 employees and they continue to be on roll as of 31st March, say 22, end of the year, then the additional salaries paid to the for those 10 employees, 30% additional deduction you would get as a tax from your tax computation. That is the additional tax deduction you would get. There are certain conditions. The salaries or remuneration should have been paid by other than cash. Then employees who have been paid monthly salary of more than 25,000 is not eligible for this additional deduction. Then employee for whom EPS contribution is paid by government. Now there is a scheme going on for MSMEs where the salary for certain employees, the government of India will pay the EPS. So if you are taking that advantage, then you will not be able to claim additional deduction. The employee should have worked for at least 240 days in the previous financial year. If it is a manufacturer of apparel, leather or footwear products, then 150 days is enough. Then employee who doesn't participate in EPF. So this is very important. If any small unit doesn't have a EPF license or EPF registration, they are not eligible to opt this section. Then if the business entity is set up by splitting up, reconstruction, reorganization, they are not eligible to opt for this provision. Then we have section 115B AA. This is applicable once again only for domestic companies. They have option to pay effective rate of tax 25.17%. The option can be exercised with effect from assessment year 2021 and onwards. It cannot be withdrawn subsequently. See, once this provision is exercised, it cannot be withdrawn by the company. Then a form 10 IC has to be attested and filed electronically, attested by a CA or CFO. Then there is no sunset clause for this provision. So whenever you want to switch to this provision, you can. Certain deductions are not allowed if this option is opted. So you have section 10 AA, which is the tax benefit given for SEZ units. Then additional depreciation deduction under section 32(1) AA. Then deduction under section 35, 35AD, 35 CCD, which we saw in the previous slide. And chapter 6A deduction like 80 JJ AA is not available, additional deduction for new employees. Then 80 LA, eligible unit in International Financial Services Center. Then 80M deduction in respect of intercorporate dividends. Then brought forward loss and unabsorbed depreciation also is not allowed. So that means if you have a unabsorbed loss or brought forward loss in your books of accounts, then it is better to defer this provision. Whenever you completely absorb the loss in your tax computation, then thereafter you can opt for it. So the regular rate of tax for corporates now is 26%, including education cess. So the effective rate under this provision would be 25.17. This is a marginal benefit given for the corporates. Then we have a protection for timely payment. Any MSMEs who have registered under MSME Act obtain the registration. As per section 15 of the MSME Act, if the registered enterprise supplies goods or services, the payment for such supply shall be made by buyer on or before the date agreed upon between buyer and supplier. And that date should not exceed 45 days. Whatever the agreement between the buyer and seller, as per the law, the credit period should not exceed 45 days. If it exceeds also, then within 45 days, the supplier has the buyer has to pay, settle the money to the supplier. If he fails to make the payment within 45 days, then notwithstanding anything contained in any agreement, the buyer shall also pay interest at the rate of 3 times the rate notified by the RBI along with the amount due to the supplier. But practically I don't know whether you will be able to claim it, but there is a provision. Then we have concession on electricity charges. Whoever registered under MSME Act, they can actually avail a concession on electricity charges. You will have to make an application to the MSME, you will have to submit MSME registration certificate to the electricity department. So, to claim the concession on electricity charges. Then you have reduced IPR filing fee. The Department of Electronics and Information Technology has launched a scheme entitled Support for International Patent Protection in E and IT to provide financial support to MSME and technology startups units for international patent filing. So the charges, the reimbursement of charges would be INR 15 lakhs per invention or 50% of the total charges incurred in filing and processing of patent. Whichever is higher, you would get a reduction. Then move on to MSME financing. The small and medium enterprise sector contribute about 40% of the total manufacturing and 34% of total exports, and is crucial to India's economic growth, employment generation and entrepreneurial development. The Finance Ministry is very well known that if we have to achieve 5 trillion economy by 24, the MSME is to be stimulated in rapid way. Change in MSME definition also brought more number of entities under MSME provision and pushed up the quantum of lending to these entities. Then move on to the amount, the schemes and projects for development of Modi and village and coir industries. Last year it was 905.04 crores. This allocation was subsequently revised to 1,232 crores in 2021-22. However, in this budget, the revised figure has seen a marginal reduction, that is 1,168 crores. A significant number of MSMEs belong to labor-intensive domains and had expected an increase in allocation of funds, but that has not happened this time. One key highlight of the FM's announcement was the increase in budgetary allocation for MSMEs from last year's 15,699 crores to 21,422 crores now. It is up by almost 27%. A significant takeaway of FM's budget speech was that she extended the emergency credit line guarantee scheme to March 23, besides a guaranteed cover of 50,000 crores, additional 50,000 crores. So now startups, I think I already covered in the in my delivery earlier. So if you want the next one. Availability of loan. By virtue of RBI directives, banks have certain earmarked funds that are mandatorily to be given to MSMEs. These loans can be availed by producing the MSMEs registration certificates. See, banks actually, the government has made a directive through RBI. Certain amount has to be given to MSMEs. So MSMEs must aware what are the benefits to be taken from the government or banks. So as I said, there is a book available. Please take and or consult your tax consultant or financial consultant. So some of the commonly known MSME loans and schemes are listed below. So we have CGT, MSE loans, CLCSS, that is credit linked capital subsidy. If you want to upgrade your with the technology upgradation, then banks would fund you a sizable amount, and but you will have to take a term loan on the machinery or the capital investments. 15% of the amount will be given as a subsidy. Then you have National Small Industries Corporation subsidy, then PMEGP, Prime Minister Employment Generation Program, PMRY, Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana, then PSB loans in 59 minutes. That is through mobile app. You can download your mobile app and approach your banker, produce all your documents through online. So the bank would tell you what is your eligible amount, which is bank can fund you. Then we have Stand Up India. In Stand Up India, under Stand Up India loan scheme, bank offers loans from 10 lakhs to 1 crore to at least one woman borrower should be there, and one scheduled caste or scheduled tribe borrower per bank branch for setting up a greenfield enterprise. So the enterprise shall be engaged in agri-allied activities, manufacturing or trading sectors. At least 51% of shareholding and controlling stake should be with the either an SC/ST and or women borrower in case of the non-individual enterprise. Then we have Startup India. Startup India scheme is an initiative by Government of India that offers financing and handholding support to startup entities for growth and expansion. Then we have new age loan facilities by private lenders. Like you will get a lot of advertisements where you can just create your account and you can apply for a loan. Within 2 to 3 days they will fund. Like you have a lending card, you have IndieFi, Tata Capital, Zip Loan, etc. But you make sure you understand the charges associated to your loan before you opt for it. Generally the rate of interest are high as there is no guarantees taken on the loan amount. If it is required only for short term period and your business receipts are assured, you can take it. Then move on to the last one. Okay. Reimbursement of ISO certification charges. Here MSMEs can avail an exemption for all the expenses incurred for obtaining ISO certifications. The scheme envisages reimbursement of charges incurred for acquisition of ISO 9000, that is quality management system. Then we have ISO 14001 EMS. Then we have a food certification to the extent of 75% of expenditure, subject to a maximum of 75,000 each case. Then the last one, exclusive purchase from MSME market development assistance. This is a new scheme where the central government has made a policy where at least 25% of the public sector or government department PSUs procurement has to happen only from a MSME sector. I think this is a good move from the government of India. For this, they have introduced an end-to-end e-bill system for procurement in order to enhance the transparency and to help the timely digital payment to empower the Modi's Digital India vision. Similarly, Vending Udyam or eShram, NCS and ASIM portal will help in enhancing entrepreneurialism and opportunities for MSMEs. See here, you can actually, there is a portal, you can go through it, the eligible people can apply for it, and you can also supply goods to the government and departments and PSUs. Minimum 25% has to happen from these MSME rates as per the government directives. So with this, I will conclude my talk. Thank you.
Floor is open for questions. If you have any questions, please.
Concessional electricity, in electricity, sir, for MSMEs.
Yeah, electricity charges.
Concession.
Yeah.
Because you not focus much in that. Ours is the electroplating industry.
Okay.
We are consuming more power. That's what I'm looking how we can get the concession on electricity charges.
Okay. Are you registered MSME?
Yes.
Okay. Then you will have to approach the BESCOM people. So you have to produce the MSME certification.
The law is there.
Yeah, law is there. Law is there. You will have to approach the discount.
When COVID period, we have waive of minimum charges. But concessions, we are not aware of that.
See, concession will be on your electricity usage charges. So that has to be prospective. First we need to get the approval, then from there onwards you would get the reduction in your electricity charges.
It will apply to all MSMEs.
Yes.
Sir, this is in regards to point number 2. You said 45 days payment, the MSMEs. Definitely it is there on record, but it is not implemented. Because, sorry to tell you this, I am supplying to corporates, I am into packaging, and my payment term is 45 days, but I am getting payment in 90 to 120 days. And when I asked them, they said, Arif bhai, you are our very old supplier, 20-25 years. We are in the field of packaging for last 37 years. So you are our old supplier. So far, हमारा तो साथ बन गया है. Because the head office is in Bombay and Delhi. We speak in Hindi. So बोलते हैं आरिफ भाई हमारा तो जम गया है. अगर आप वो MSME वो चक्कर में जाएंगे तो आपको पैसा तो मिलेगा बाद में टाटा बाय बाय. One is that, and second is, I asked them honestly, sir वो छोड़िए आप जो दे रहे हैं ठीक है. How you are adjusting in the balance sheet, because you cannot show above 45 days in your balance sheet. It's all corporate. So that is done by your colleagues. Don't feel bad. It is done by your colleague, because 100% if they show it as a above 45 days payment in their balance sheet, that they cannot, it cannot be like dividends and other things. It's all registered, what we call listed companies. So how they are doing it, God only knows. I think you can able to give some highlight on that, because how, without that, I think without showing it as paid for in 45 days, there will not get approved and chartered accountant cannot sign it. That is the law, if I am right. That is where we are facing problem. If
Sir, the law doesn't say we don't sign it, it only says we codify.
I don't know.
Yeah. So it only says that we codify it and we basically give the quantum, whatever it is there, and not audit reports. Now the major issue which you are talking about is, please understand that in India we have something. Palkiwala has written a book called Income Tax Law and Practice. In the preface, he's mentioned it very beautifully that in India, income tax law is different, income tax practice is different. I don't have to answer beyond that.
Just to add one more point, see, when you are supplying goods, on your invoice itself you have to write you are an MSME unit.
It is clearly mentioned. Sir, I am in the association for last 15 years. I have attended so many seminars. In my invoice it is clearly mentioned, ours is MSME, it is registered, and in that even clause also is there. It is there. I can go to MSME and I will get my payment. 100% they will pay.
Correct. You will not get next business.
That is the problem. So the central government, what we are trying to ask is, see, law, no, why somebody has to complain? Why I should complain? If they don't pay means they have to pay. Make a law like that, they have to obey the law. Our law itself is like tricky law. That is the problem what we are facing.
True, sir.
Principally, there is no mistake in the law. I don't say our laws are tricky. We have manipulated the law and stretched it for our own benefits and taken the risk. If it is reported, let him report. Others, you change the auditors also. Just like you change the supplier, they change the auditors also.
Sir, namaste. Nagaraj SP CGBMC scheme ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೇಳೋದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್.
Sir, I'm not well versed with the schemes as I told across, but if you give me your query on the writing, I will answer it to you.
ಇಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ.
Okay.
It's a 2 CR limit. 2 CR limit without collateral. So ನಾನು 1.81 crores ಸ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ನನಗೆ. ಸ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಅವೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಾನು ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಇರೋದು 1.36 crores. ಮೋರ್ ದನ್ 20 years ಇದೆ ಕೆನರಾ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್. ನಾನು ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಲೋನನ್ನು ನಾನು ಡಿಫಾಲ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ ನಾನು ಎಷ್ಟೋ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಇವಾಗ 1.3 CR ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ ರೆಡಿ ಟು ಗಿವ್ LC ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಭಾಳ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಆ LC ಅಷ್ಟು ನನಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಡಿ, ಒಂದು ಸೈಕಲ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಅರ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಒಂದು 100 rupees ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಒಂದು 2.5 kg ಸ್ಟೀಲ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾಯಿತ್ತು. ಇವಾಗ 100 rupees ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ 1.25 kg ಸಿಗ್ಬೋದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್. ನೀವು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋಂಥ ಹಳೇ ಸ್ಕೀಮ್ ಏನಿದೆ, 1 crore 20 lakhs ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಈಗ ಸಾಲೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸರ್ 1 crore 20 lakhs ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಎವ್ರಿ ಇಯರ್ ಎಂಡ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟರ್ನ್ ಓವರ್ ಸಾಲ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಆರ್ಡರ್ ತೊಗೊಂಬಂದ್ರೆ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಈಗ ನಾನು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮ AGM ಹತ್ರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾತಾಡಿ ನೋಡಿದೆ, ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಫ್ರ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರು. ನಾನೀಗ ಒಂದು ಲೆಟ್ರ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಹೆಡ್ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ನೀವು ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ನಾನು ಈ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ ನನ್ನ ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ಗೆ ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾನು ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಬುಧವಾರ ನಾನು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್. ಸೊ ಈ ಅವೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಾವು ಪ್ರಾಂಪ್ಟಾಗಿ ಕಟ್ಟಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಕ್ಲೇಮ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾದ ಅವಶ್ಯ ಬಿಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ 2 crores ರೀಚ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ಮೇಲೆ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಲ್ಲ.
ಸರ್ ಅದು ನಿಮ್ದು ಎಲಿಜಿಬಿಲಿಟಿನ ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ.
ಎಲಿಜಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ ಸರ್.
ಎಲಿಜಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅಪ್ ಟು 2 crores ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು
ಸರ್. ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು ಸರ್. ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ನೀವು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ 1.8 crores ನೀವು ಸ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್ ಇರೋದು ಬರೀ 19 crores ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಹೋಗಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಕೊಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ರೆಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆ ಕ್ರಿಟೀರಿಯಾ ಈ ಕ್ರಿಟೀರಿಯಾ ಅಂತ ಏನೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಏನಂತ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಎವ್ರಿ ಇಯರ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಟರ್ನ್ ಓವರ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈ ಕೋವಿಡ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ನಮ್ಮದು 2 crores ಇದ್ದು 2.5 crores ಆಗಿದೆ, ಈಗ 3.5 crores ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಈ ವರ್ಷ ಒಂದು 400 ಕೋಟಿ ಇಲ್ಲ 5 ಕೋಟಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಇನ್ನೇನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್ ನಾವು?
ಸರ್, adding to his the same thing I also have faced problem. My turnover is increased. One is because of my real turnover also is increased, and because of the price escalation also the amount is increased. But the problem here is we are not knowing the exact thing of the ratio. What they are saying is the ratio which my eligibility is, I have taken only, not even my total working capital is only 5%. I can go up to 20%. But they are saying your ratio is not there, 1 point. And the second point what they are saying is this, our chartered accountant has to guide us. They are not properly guiding. The problem is that ratio what? As and when we require money, we remove money and other thing. We are running the business. We are doing good turnover. But our money is not there because we don't know that how much should be there. One is that. And second is what is escalating price. For example, now it was what he said. It was 50 rupees, now it is increased to 100 rupees. On the another 50 rupees, the banker is asking our contribution of 30% again. There we are facing problem. It is a banker's problem. We have, even CGM also we have met, even Canara Bank CGM also we have met. They are saying what to do. It is our guideline. The problem is there because 50 rupees has become 100 rupees. On that 50 rupees, they are asking our 30% is 15 rupees I have to bring in again. Which we are not able to bring because already we are having problem with the payments, escalation of raw material cost, and the margins are not there. With this condition, just 2 years of COVID problem, now they are saying yes, it is growing up, but the problem is with that. Even I face this problem.
It is a policy matter.
It's a policy matter and our ratio.
There are two things that you have to understand, sir. That I agree with you that you are right in demanding more. We have also faced these problems in most of our clients' cases, and in some cases the clients were at mistake when they don't see the ratios as RFI has very clearly put across. So there are certain thumb rules which the bankers have. The thumb rules, are you following it or no? You may not be aware. Now you tell that your chartered accountant has not advised you properly. In many of the chartered accountants don't advise you properly on this.
Sir, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Chartered account day to day activities ಅವ್ರು ಎಂಟು ಸರ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್.
No,
ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದ್ಸತಿ ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲ ತಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಫೈಲ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಒಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಾಂಪ್ಟಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಫೀಸ್ನ ಇಸ್ಕೊತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಗೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು ಯಾರು? ನಾನು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕರ್ಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು, ನನಗೆ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು.
Sir, that's what sir, let me complete this particular point. ಆಮೇಲೆ ತಾವು ಮಾತಾಡಿ. So the basic thing is that your chartered accountants have not advised you also. Please understand that when you have a ear problem, you go to a ear specialist. When you have a headache, you go to a neurologist. When you have a heart problem, you go to a cardiologist. In the medical profession, you have a clear designation given across. Unfortunately, our institute does not give that thing to say that you go to Mr. Ramalinga, he will help you in financial. You go to Sanjay Dhariwal, he will help you into business consulting. You go to somebody else who helps you into something else. We don't have the classifications in CAs. And please understand, all chartered accountants are not into everything. They are all into some specializations which you will have to identify. There are lots of chartered accountants who are into banking only. They help you get the banking, they help you prepare the proposals and the bank funding, and basically they will check the ratios much before. And believe me, if they tell you, like my partner is there, if he tells you that this is the amount I can get you, 95% of the cases they are able to get it across. So probably you have to check your ratios. As Arif Bhai said, that probably in the contribution has to be done across. In that case, you also have to look into that. You are talking about up to 2 crores is non-collateral based. About 2 crores is collateral. You'll have to give your collaterals also. See, he's a financier. He has certain norms. And he's not the owner of the bank, he's only an employee. So he follows his bosses.
Correct. But what I'm asking, this has to be changed. Government knows very well what is the current situation.
Government has given the businessman to do his business. Bankers are also one type of businessman. They will do it in the way they are comfortable.
No sir, they are playing with our money sir. Frankly I am telling, ನಾನು ಕಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. Believe it or not, ನನ್ನ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ನನ್ನ ಮನೆನ ನಾನು ಸೇಲ್ಗಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್. ಫ್ರಾಂಕ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನನ್ನ ಮಗನ ಹತ್ರ ಹೇಳಿ, ನನ್ನ ಮಗ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಮನೆ ಮಾರ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಿನ್ನ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿನ ಸಾಲ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ, 2 ವರ್ಷ ನೀನು ಸಾಲ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ರನ್ ಮಾಡೋ, ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡೋಣ, ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡೋಣ, ಬೇಡ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಸೇ ಬೇಡ. ಯಾರು ಉದ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ? ಲೇಬರ್ಸ್ನ ಉದ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಆಡಿಟರ್ಸ್ ಉದ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕಟ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಗೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕಟ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಏನು ಡೇ ಟು ಡೇ ಲೈಫ್ ರನ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ ಏನು ನೋಡ್ತಾರೆ? ದೇ ಆರ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲಿ ಕೇಪಬಲ್ ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಏನು ನೋಡ್ತಾರೆ? ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಆರ್ಡರ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಟರ್ನ್ ಓವರ್ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತಾರೆ. ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ಸರ್ ಈ ವರ್ಷ ನಾನು 5 ಕೋಟಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ ನೋ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇಯರ್ ಟರ್ನ್ ಓವರ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಲೆಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದು ಸರ್? ಕಸ್ಟಮರು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಯಾಪಬಿಲಿಟಿ ನೋಡಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್.
ನಾವು ಅವಾಗಲೇ ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ ಇದು ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್. ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು. ನೀವು ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲಿ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಿದೆಯೋ ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ರಿಕ್ವೈರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಓಕೆ. 10 years ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ
ಇದನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ತಲುಪಿಸಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಸರಿಪಡಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ನನ್ನ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮಂತವ್ರು ಅಂತಾನೆ ನಾನು ತೋರಿಸೋದು, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ನಂಬ್ತದ, ನಿಮ್ಮಂತವ್ರು ಫೈಲ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ನನಗೆ ತೋರಿಸ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ CAS ಇಸ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಕನೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ವಿತ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಈವನ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಫೈಲ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ 2005 ಈ ಏನಂತೀರ GST ಬರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ವ್ಯಾಟ್ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಇದೆ ಸರ್. ನನ್ನ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ಸ್ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಸೇರಿ ನನ್ನ 1 ಕೋಟಿ ಗಟ್ಟನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಕ್ಸೋಣ ಸರ್. ಕೋಟಿ ಗಟ್ಟಲೆ ಅವ್ರು ಬಿಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಎಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದರೆ ಖರ್ಚು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ಸ್ ಕೈ ಎತ್ಬಿಟ್ರು ಸರ್. ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರು, ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಬಿಲ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರು, ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರು, ನನಗೆ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ 6 months ಆದ್ರೆ. ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಟಾಟಾ ಅಂಡ್ ಎಲ್ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಸೇರಿ ಮಾಡೋದು ಸರ್. ಇವತ್ತು ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿನ, ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸ್ಕೇಲ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ನ ಬಿಗ್ ಪ್ಲೇಯರ್ಸ್ ಭಾಳ ಚೀಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ
ಸರ್. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ನಾನು ಶಿವರಾಮ್ ಭಟ್ ಅಂತ, ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್. ನೀವು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬಂದರೆ ಮಾತು ಸೇರಿಸಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡೆ, ವಿತ್ ಎಲ್ಲವರ ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ತಗೊಂಡು. ಫೈನಾನ್ಸಿನ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಲ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಇದೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿರೋ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಈ ದೊಡ್ಡ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಕಂಪ್ನಿಗಳಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇ ಆದ CFOಗಳು ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಾಲ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೋದು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು, ಕಸ್ಟಮರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ದಿವಸ ಕೊಡ್ಬೋದು, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಲೆಕ್ಕಾಚಾರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೊಂದು ಆಕಾರ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಹೀಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಉದ್ದ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಇಷ್ಟಾಗಲ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಹೀಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು, ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಇಂತಿದ್ದಾದಿದ್ದರೆ ಹೀಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿರೋ ವಿಚಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನನ್ನು ಕರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದು ಕರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕೆಲವು ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಇನ್ನು CFOಗಳು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಹೋದಾಗ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡಿ ಅಥವಾ ಆಡಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ನನಗೆ CFO ಅಡ್ವೈಸರಿ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದರೆ ಆವಾಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋ ಸರ್ವಿಸನ್ನು ಅವ್ರು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಒಂದೇ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ರು, ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಒಂದೇ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ರು, ಹೌದು ನಾವು ಹೋಗಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದು ಅದೇನೇ ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಬೇರೆ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀವ. ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟಿ ಇದೆ, ನಾನು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ನಾವು ಅಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಸಾಲ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಆ್ಯಂಗಲಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ದಿವಸ ನಾವು ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಹತ್ರ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಹೋಗಿ ಕುಳಿತುಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದೇ ಸತ್ತು ಹೋಗಿದ್ದು ಆಡಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು. ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ಮೆಂಟು ಹೇಗಿರಬೇಕು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಪಾರ್ಟ್ನರ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಹಾಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಪ್ರೊಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ, ಹೋದ ವರ್ಷ ಎಷ್ಟಾಯಿತು, ಈ ವರ್ಷ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಮುಂದಿನ ವರ್ಷ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ. ಅಷ್ಟು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ಸಾಲ ಏನು ಬೇಕು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಬೇಕು, ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಹೇಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಹತ್ರ ನೀವು ಕೂತಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಫೀಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಎಂಗೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೆ ಸೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅದೆಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಅದನ್ನು ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರಿ ಅಂತ ಆದರೆ ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗಿ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಕೂಡ ಮೊದಲು CF ಆಗಿದ್ದವನು, ಇವಾಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಕೇಳಿದರೆ ಈ SME ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಕಂಪ್ನಿಗಳಿಗೆ CFO ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ನ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ತುಂಬ SME ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಕಂಪ್ನಿಗಳು ಫೈನಾನ್ಸನ್ನ ಅವರೇ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಮಾಡೋ ತಪ್ಪು ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಹೇಗಿರಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಹೀಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಸರಿಪಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋವರೆಗೂ ಇದೇ ಥರ ಅಂದರೆ ಮಾನಸಿಕವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿ ಅನ್ರೆಸ್ಟು, ಇದು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್ ಒಪ್ಪೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ನಮ್ಮ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು, ನಾವು ನಮಗಿದು ಬೇಕು, ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಫ್ಯೂಚರ್ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನ್ ಹೀಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಫಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು ರೆಡಿ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಷ್ಟ ಪರಿಹಾರ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಭಾವಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಂಥವ್ರಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು 25 ಇಯರ್ಸ್ ಆಗೋಯ್ತು, ನನಗೇನು ಬೈಕ್ ಬೇಡ, ನಾನು ಹಂಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ. 25 ಇಯರ್ಸ್ ಆಯಿತು ಸರ್. ನಮಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ನನಗೆ ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ಬರು ಕೆಲಸ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ನಾನು ದುಡಿಬೋದಂತ ರಿಜಿಸ್ಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆಡಿಟರ್ ತೊಗೊಬೋದು. ನಮಗೆ ನಾವು ಆಡಿಟರ್ ನಂಬ್ತೀವಿ, ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಗೆ ನಂಬ್ತೀವಿ, ನಮಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡೋದು ಒಂದೇ ಗೊತ್ತು. ಅದು ಈಗ ಏನಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಅವರು ಗೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಯುವರ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ. ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಏನು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇದೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಏನು ಸಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಇವಾಗ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು CFO ಅಂತೇಳಿ, ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗಿಯೂ ತಾವು ಬಂದರೆ ಕಂಪ್ಲೇಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್
ನಿಂದೇ ಇದೆಪ್ಪ ಕಂಪ್ಲೇಂಟ್,
ನಂದೇ ಇದೆ, ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಲ್ಲ, ಐ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್ ಇಟ್. ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್. ಅಂದರೆ ನನ್ನ ರೇಷಿಯೋ ಸರಿ ಇದೆ, ಅದು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು. ಬಟ್ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, ರೇಷಿಯೋ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋ ತಾವಾದ್ರಿಂದ ಆ ರೇಷಿಯೋನ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ.
ನೋಡಿ ಸರ್, ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮಲ್ಟಿನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಕಂಪ್ನಿ P1 60 days ಅಂತ ಹಾಕಿದವರು 6 months ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸರ್. ಈಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಂಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಕೊಟೇಶನ್ ಕೊಡೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ನಾಗರಾಜ್ ಸರ್ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು ಇಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಸರ್. ಸಿ, ವಿ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬರೋದು ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಅಷ್ಟು ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಹೌ ಟು ಗೋ ಫರ್ದರ್ ಗ್ರೋ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನೇನು ಬರಬೇಕು, ರೇಷಿಯೋ ಏನಿರಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ಥರ ಯುಟಿಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳುವಳಿಕೆ ಇರೋದು. ಇನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಈ ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಗೈಡ್ ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್
that is the reason. Sir, that is the reason in my talk I had very clearly told what you hear will not take you there. You'll have to change your approach, you'll have to change your consultants, you'll have to change your understanding of the business, and probably you'll have to upgrade yourself also with technology and knowledge about everything. Now, as a businessman, you should know your product and your industry, but other areas, if you do not know, you will not survive. Let us be very honest. We'll have to change the way we look at business also. This is not the solution to say, I will sell my house, I'll pay the refund, I'll do this across. This, okay, fine, you can survive. Your next generation will not survive. Please look into it. We'll take the next question because we've got others also to answer.
ಹಲೋ ಸರ್, ಎಲ್ರಿಗೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಪೀನೆ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಅಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಟ್ರೆಸರ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಬಟ್ ನಾನು ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ರಾಮಲಿಂಗಂ ಸರ್ ಒಂದು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಮಾತು ರಿಗಾರ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ISO. ISOನ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 2 months ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಿ ತಗೊಂಡೆ. ಬಟ್ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳೋದು ಏನೋ ಸಬ್ಸಿಡಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಈ ಮೊದಲು ಇತ್ತು, ಈಗ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, RBI ನವ್ರು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ಸಲ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತೆ. ಅದೇ ತಾವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ 75% ಸಬ್ಸಿಡಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತೆ. ಅದು ಇನ್ನೂ ಇದೇ ಇಲ್ವಾ ಸರ್? ಅದು ನೀವು ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್.
For BSI, for ISO, up to 75% of 75,000, and for BSI certificate, it is 50% fees for this thing, and 25 of the thing. Maximum is 50,000 for the purchase of distribution. More it is that. Women employees, it is more. Women entrepreneurs. That's why I said, please purchase books, read through it. You don't require consultants, 80% is
ಸರ್, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಸಂಜಯಗೌಡ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕೃಷಿ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ. ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಸಜೆಷನ್ 100% ಸತ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಪ್ರಾಯೋಗಿಕವಾಗಿ ಅದು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದು ತಾವು ಕೊಟ್ಟ CA ಸರ್, ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶ ದಾರಿ ತಪ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾರೆ 3 ಜನ. ಒಬ್ಬರು CA, ಒಬ್ಬರು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್, ಒಬ್ಬರು 3 ಜನ ಸೇರ್ತಾರೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶ
ಸರಿ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ
the country runs on 4 wheels, the 4th is lawyers.
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ 100% ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್. ಈಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದೇ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ನೀವು ಲಾ ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ರಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯ ಬಂದು ಆಗೋಯ್ತು 70 ವರ್ಷ, ಇನ್ನೂ ಆ ಬುಕ್ಕೇಲೇ ಇದೆ. ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಯಾರೂ ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆ SPM ಇರುವಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರದರ್ಶನ ಇತ್ತು, ಏನೇನು ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಲಿಟಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ, ಏನಿದೆ, ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಲಿಟೀಸ್ ಇದೆ MSMEಗೆ. ಆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಕೇಳಿ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಪ ಯಾರು ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು, ನೀನು ಯಾವಾಗ ಹುಟ್ಟಿದೆ, 20 ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶ ಯಾವ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ತಂದು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ. CGPMS 1.2% ಇತ್ತು, 3% ಮಾಡಿತ್ತು. ಏನಂತಾರ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಸಿನ ಬೆಳೆಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬಿಡಬೇಕೇನ ಹಾಲಲ್ಲೇ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಬೆಳೆಯುತ್ತೆ. ನಂಬರ್ 2, ಈ ಚಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರಲಿ ಯಾರೇ ಆಗಿರಲಿ, ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ನಿನ್ನ ಮುಂದೆ ಒಂದು ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಬರ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟು % ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ತೋರಿಸ್ಬೇಕಪ್ಪ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಯಾಕೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀವಿ, ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅವರೇ ದಾರಿ ಇದು ಸತ್ಯ. ಅದು ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡಿ ನಾವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ನಾವು ಮೊದಲು 2 ವರ್ಷ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಯಾವ ಹೋಗೋದು ನೀನು ಮಾಡೋ ಕೆಲಸ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಡೈಲಿ ಅಪ್ಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಯಾವಾಗ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಯಾವಾಗ ನೀನು ಗ್ರೋತ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಅವಾಗಿಂದ ನೀನು ಬೇಡಪ್ಪ 5 ಲಕ್ಷ ಹೋಗುತ್ತಾ ನೀನು ಗ್ರೋತ್ ತೋರಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು. ಈಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ನಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಹಿಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಳಿಯೋಕೆ ನೋಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇವನು ಅಟ್ಲೀಸ್ಟ್ ಇವಾಗ ಕಟ್ಟು, ನಾಳೆ ದಿವಸ ಎಲ್ಲೇ ಅವರು ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡೋರು ಯಾರು ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಮಗೆ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಈ CA ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಒತ್ತಾ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಆಯಾ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಆಕ್ಷನ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಯಾವ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಈ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸರ್ ನನ್ನಂದ್ರೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ, ಅವರಂದ್ರೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ, ಇವರು ಆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ದಾಖಲೆನ, ನೀವು 3 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಫ್ಲೈಟ್ ಆಗಿಸ್ತೀಯ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಯಾಕೆ ಬೇಕು ಸ್ವಾಮಿ, ಇಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏನು ಆಡಿಟ್ ಫೈಲ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡಿ ಕೊಡು, ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀಯ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ 350 ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟೇಶನ್ ತಂದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ತಂದು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಯಾಕೆ ಬೇಕು? ಪ್ರಾವಿಷನಲ್ ಸೀಟು ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು 25,000 ಕೊಡು, ಪ್ರೊಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಸೀಟ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು 20, ಹೊಸ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಓಕೆ, ಹಳೇದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ ನೀನು? ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಬುಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಇವತ್ತು ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ. ಒಂದು MSME ಹೊಡೆದ್ರೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, GST ಹೊಡೆದ್ರೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಏನು ಟರ್ನ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕಣ್ಣು ಮುಂದೆ ಕಾಣಿಸುವಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬುಕ್ ಓದ್ಕೊಂಬ ಏನು ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಆಫೀಸರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಈ RBI ಮಾಡೋದು, ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಇನ್ನೂ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಂಚೆ ಇಕ್ಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಯಾಕೆ? ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಏನು ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿಗಳು? ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದೆ ಕಣ್ಣು ಮುಂದೆ ಕಾಣೋದು ಯಾವಾಗ? ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಅನುದಾನ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಯಾರ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಬೇಕು ನಾವು.
Sir, please understand, those who were following the traditional practices even in the banking of asking documentations, asking project reports, asking documents, proofs, everything, they are still at that same level of banking. Those banks today, the new venture banks like the non-public sector banks, where they have changed their attitude. I'll tell you a simple example. There was one client of mine, he started his company in 1996. In 2000 or so, we wanted a loan of 5 lakh rupees, we were struggling. Today, the same client is getting more than 150 crores of 4D facility, on loan facility. Things have changed. He has moved from bankers to bank. And many banks have consolidated and moved across. The old lethargic attitude is changing, but then you may not find that much in the public sector banks, you will find that in the private banks. You see Bajaj Finance, you see Axis Bank, you see all these people, they have changed Today for chartered accountants, I'll tell you, I've got a 32 lakh rupees of OD facility from Bajaj Finance at a higher rate of interest, but without a single documentation. Except my CA Institute's card that I'm a member, and so many years I'm a member, they have just sanctioned it. I use it or no is a different thing, but today things have changed, sir. I agree with you that there are bankers even today talking about the traditional way, because they have their audit, they have their internal audit, they are more documented oriented, but that is not the way. ICICI Bank changed the whole philosophy in banking.
National brand.
Public sector.
Sir, also looking into economic as a whole.
ನಮ್ದು ಇತಿಹಾಸ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹೌದಲ್ವಾ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕೋಲೇಟಿವ್ ಸೆಕ್ಯೂರಿಟಿ ಇದೆ ಹಿಂದಿನ 2 ವರ್ಷದ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಶೀಟ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಮುಂದಿನ ಪ್ರೊಜೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಏನಿದೆಲ್ಲ ಹುಡುಗಾಟ 20 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಬಿಸ್ನೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮುಂದ್ಗಡೆ ನಾವು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಆರಿಸ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೋದಾಗ ನೀವು ಕೇಳಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ನಾವು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ.
See, that is again, they are business people, they are not government. Banks are also business people, they are not government. They run their business the way they look like. Like today, if I come and borrow money, I take a credit from you, you'll have a different rule for one customer, different rule for the other customer. We'll have to follow that, sir. That is not.
Earlier SBM is there. पहले SBM था. वो टाइम पे बराबर था. ये SBI आने के बाद वो ब्रिटिश रूल चालू हो गया. अर्लियर 2 साल में ये एक होता है, बाद में 2 साल में एक चेंज करता है. वो ठीक है, जो है आरबीआई रूल जो है जो दिखाने का है ना.
ಸರ್ ಸರಿ ಸರ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ನೋವನ್ನು ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು 100ಕ್ಕೆ 100 ಸರಿಯಾಗಿದೆ, ಸತ್ಯ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಆದರೆ ನಾವು ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಂದರೆ ನಗಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾತಾಡೋ ಹೋಗ್ಬೋದು ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರು ನಾವು ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನೊಂದು ಮಾತು ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಎಲ್ಲರದು ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ವಿ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಹೌ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಅಸ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ in the beginning of yours in the talk you said I spoke to 2 of the union minister in regards to giving the subsidy andre less rate of interest. 1 point you said, and second almost 10 crore jobs will be under problem. 12 crore 12 crore jobs under problem if MSMEs are going through this kind of situation anta. See, what you said is 100% right. What you have pointed out also is 100% right. Now, being a industries association, our request to our ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, that how you can support micro and small people. Sir, here the definition itself is, earlier it was small scale was right. Now they have made it MSME, micro, small, medium. ಈ ಮೀಡಿಯಂನ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ತಂದುಬಿಟ್ಟು they are putting us under problem because they should differentiate medium and large separate. Make it medium and large separate and micro and small separate. It is not your problem, it is our government this thing. So our request to you is, whatever you said, no, how you can support us in taking our voice to the government. If there is any provision, we definitely join hands with you to take our problems to the central government. State governments can't do anything, central government. So how you can support us, please let us know, sir.
With the permission of my chairman, I am taking it as an extrajudiciary authority from him. Please understand that every business organization is a very strong organization. Unfortunately, we see small things and complain. We are like the typical mother-in-law who sees small mistakes what the daughter-in-law makes, and the daughter-in-law sees all the small mistakes the mother-in-law makes. We have not grown or matured enough to see that. We ignore the small things and look at the macro level also, and look at what all impacts our industry. As an association, I would say first, you should have certain technical cells for your members. This is out of my scope as a speaker or from the institute's perspective. You should have people who can at least give a second opinion in the field of indirect taxes, in the field of banking, in the field of taxation, in the field of business consulting, etc. Then you should also have a separate panel of people who come voluntary or at a charge, whatever it is. Like Credai today has a separate legal cell wherein they take experts like us across to advise them on the real estate matters, etc. They have seminars, programs conducted. Each industry is different. You are a separate sector, but you have multiple sectors inside you. So you have to identify in the 20,000 members which are the major industries which are with you. And in that you also have guidances from large industrial houses coming in, educating you how to do businesses and how to look at it. I still remember I spoke to Mr. Anil Agarwal, who is the chairman of Vedanta. In one of the seminars we had called him in Bangalore and we had spoken to him. He started off with a small beginning. And today, where is he today? The only difference is the outlook and the approach he took was very different from what we ought to take. The risk he took was very different. I don't say MSME sector should also take that risk. But please be aware, what is it if you take the risk, what is it that you don't take the risk? How should I change my thing? Today, if your children are coming into your business, you are not willing to listen to them because you say that I have been doing this for so many years, will you teach me? Have you ever thought that you need management consultants today when you are handing over the businesses to your children? There are so many issues that we are facing from first generation to second generation to the third generation when they are coming into businesses. Are we ready to accept that we can also be wrong? Before we advise the government, have we had an introspection to see that our businesses, what we are doing is correctly done or not? So I think this is the level what we as professionals, we as an institute can help you to say that these are the people who specialize in different fields. You can talk to them directly, either on free service or paid service or whatever it is. Take them into your panel, educate your members about it. I am sure today, if you grow, we as professionals will grow. Because if you do not earn much, what fees will you pay me? If you become an Adani, I can expect crores of rupees. And believe me, I'll tell you, you are having a problem about fees, sir. I will tell you frankly, Anil Ambani's company, I'm telling it on the stage also, or Subhash Chandra's company Z, both these people have said that if you don't pay the fees in advance, I will not take your job because they delayed my fees earlier. They did not pay me earlier. But if an MSME comes in, we never say that pay the fees in advance. Please understand that the large players will say you that if you are doing my work, you will get 20 other clients to do my work at a cheaper price. It is the MSME sector which pays me better fees than what the multinationals or the big companies pay. I appreciate you all, but then you also have to have a change of approach to see that you'll have to get professionalism. As Mr. Shivram Bhatt very clearly said, my past chairman of our institute, that at times we do not go to chartered accountants just like we don't go to the doctors. We are your financial doctors, sir. If you do not go to the doctor with the problem and after that you say that you have got cancer, you didn't help me out. You go to your family doctor and say, why didn't you identify the cancer or my heart disease? He is meant only to take care of your cough and cold. If you have another serious problem, you have to go to first a radiologist to identify what is the problem. Based on that, you have to go to a super specialist, and this is what your association should do to facilitate your members to identify those super specialists where they can go and approach. That is the best approach. Institute as such, we can guide you into it, but they do not have the control to say that whether this chartered accountant will do free or no. You'll have to look into that.
We'll close the session, sir.
बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत नॉलेज दे दिया. मतलब हमारा देश का क्या प्रश्न पूछ रहा हूँ, जो सीए डिसाइड करेगा वो चार्टेड अकाउंट क्या बोल रहा है, ये आगे आगे चलते रहेगा, बैंक वाला गला पकड़ेगा.
सर, प्राइम मिनिस्टर हमारे घर में आकर हमको गाली दे के गए 2017 में, तो इट इज नॉट दैट वी आर आल्सो एक्सक्लूडेड फ्रॉम इट, वी आर आल्सो स्ट्रगलिंग.
वी आर रिक्वेस्टिंग सब लोग बैठ कर ऐसा बात किया तो बराबर हो जाएगा. एक इंडिपेंडेंट रूल बना दिया तो बहुत मुश्किल होगा. पब्लिक प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व बहुत मुश्किल है. Finance, CA,
Thank you everyone for your patient hearing. I also thank Sanjay Dhariwal to set the contest right. On behalf of Bangalore branch of SISC, I also thank the Pina Industrial Association for giving us this opportunity. I request our chairman to hand over a memento as a token of appreciation to Pina Industry Association.
Thank you.
ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗಿದ್ದಪ್ಪ ರುಪೀಸೇ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗಿದ್ದ.
I request our chairman to hand over a token of appreciation to Sanjay Dhariwal sir. And a memento to Ramalinga sir. I thank once again for being part of this event and celebrating the MSME Day. I think before we conclude and go, we should give a big round of applause to ourselves for being part of this MSME. Thank you everyone. Thank you. Good night.